we have here the 1/48 scale Messerschmitt Bf 109G6 late series from Eduard, and it's a Profi back edition. Comes in a very lovely box with fantastic artwork as usual, and this is often the case with Eduard these days. This being the Profi pack means that it comes with Eduard photo etch and canopy masks, which is always quite good. And you've got a breakdown of the parts included, and you can see we've got a small photo etch fret for mainly the cockpit and also masks for the canopy. There's a few bits here that we're not going to use. I think this shares quite a lot of parts with the early series. And as usual, we start with the cockpit, and running through there you'll see there's quite a lot of photo etch being used. This is coloured photo etch, so it's better to, this is how I do it, I put the plastic parts together, spread all the cockpit colour, then add the coloured photo etch, and then weather it all in from there. So we work through the cockpit, instrument panel, fuselage halves coming together, a few more details on the front of the fuselage and the engine covers, then to the rear with constructing the tail, then attaching the lower wing, and there's quite a few different options, so you need to know which marking option you're going to go for and then work from that, as we've got, this is for A only, for instance, removing the mast for the antenna. You've also got A and E, which are different ones, and C has parts drilled out, for example. So it's worth keeping an eye on all of that. Then we run through a few more details to do with the wings, before finally putting the undercarriage together and bringing it all together with the canopy and the propeller. Then we run through, here we've got a bit of a breakdown on the masks included and the placements for them. There's different types of canopies, so there's different parts of the masks for each canopy. Then we go into the marking options, which are always great in these packs. First off, we've got one here from November 1943. And there's quite a nice breakdown here of what the actual aircraft and who the pilot was went through. It's all Guns call-outs, but you do have the ROM numbers here as well, so if you're using other paints, it's quite easy to match them up. Then we go to an ROM 76 aircraft from early 1944. Then running through, we've got quite a late aircraft here. This is the one I was looking at, I must admit, from May 1945 in Norway. It's quite colourful, nice green on the nose there as well, ROM 25. And then running through, this is another nice aircraft. I've seen this one at a few shows. This one's depicted in an aluminium finish, although I'm not sure. There is a bit of discrepancy on that when you look at the vehicle, but it's hard to tell, so I think you can pick whichever one you want to go with. Here they use silver as the main fuselage colour. Again, a nice breakdown here explaining why it's in silver, to try and gain a bit more speed. And this is a vehicle from July, this is an aircraft from July 1944. And then finally we've got one from August 1944. Again, a very nice scheme, lots of modelling, and the very attractive splinter camouflage. And then at the back we've got the breakdown of the stenciling positions for the second set of stenciling decals. So on to the parts. We'll stick with this and we'll get the canopy and the clear parts out. As was with all Eduard kits, the clear parts are flawless, absolutely no problem. There's many different canopies here. You've got, from what I can see, maybe 4 types of rear canopy. The windowed section with the framing, and then the sliding canopy without the framing, and then we've got quite a few different front portions and then the rear portion. So that's a very nice piece. And on to the sprues themselves. We start with the fuselage halves. Now the main thing, there's a lot of 109s out there of all types. The one thing that sets the Eduard versions apart is they've pretty much gone for a full riveting straight out of the box, which does make for quite an impressive model, and it is handled beautifully and to scale. Very nice recessed panel lines and full riveting, as I say. So here's the two sides of the fuselage plus a few other bits. Then we go on to the wings, the upper and lower wings. Again, exquisite detail on the riveting. I'll try and put a few stills up and to try and enhance the riveting detail. Might be a bit difficult on the camera. Then we go through the neck sprues. There's not actually much to this. There's only 4 sprues, and I've built the Eduard E variant, and it does come together very quickly. So this is a nice build if you maybe for a bit of a mojo or trying to get you back into it. And here we've got lots of fittings and fixtures, some for the cockpit and quite a lot for the outer parts of the aircraft. We've got fuel tanks and parts of the tail and the fins and the rudders, so lots of interesting bits there. Something to note here as well is hollowed out engine exhausts, which is another fine piece from Eduard here. This last sprue that handles all the rest of the details, 3 different propellers. As I've said, there's many different variants in the box. Tyres, which are handled very well with really nice tread pattern. Lots of details here again for the cockpit, including the cockpit floor, which is a nice piece. The instrument panel, both with instruments moulded on and flat if you want to use the etched parts, and many fine details here running through. Then we come to the photo etch fret, which is very nice. This is not self-adhesive, so that's one plus. It is coloured. I don't mind this. Some people don't like it because sometimes the colours can be off. I find it not too much of a problem once you've got it on and you weather it all in. It tends to come together quite well. Nice seat belts, as with all Eduard etch metal. I mean, there's absolutely no problem here, and it's up to their usual high standards. And the same can be said for the canopy masks, which again come pre-cut on very nice masking tape, and very hard to see anything here, but it is all pre-cut, and you use the sections, peel them off and then apply them to the canopy, and they fit perfectly, as you would imagine. And then lastly we come to the decals, which I think I'm right in saying are printed by Cartograph. Not always, sometimes they're Cartograph decals, and sometimes they're printed by Eduard, but both are always of a very high standard, whichever one it is. So there's the stencil. Again, exquisite markings, very fine film around the markings, and very thin decals. You do have the option of a decal for the instrument panel if you don't want to use the etched version, or save it and it can be used for a non-updated version. You do have it, this is a UK version, so we do have swastikas included, but if swastikas aren't allowed in your country or you've got an export version, this will be cut off. You do still get the option for swastikas, but they're in 2 parts, so you have to make them up and put them together on the tail if you wish to add them to your aircraft. And again, colour register is perfect throughout. Moving on to the stencils, you get 2 types of the main stencils in black or red, depending on which aircraft you're going to do, and you do tend to get quite a lot of duplicates here because it can be a bit fiddly, and Eduard recognised that, which is useful. And all in all, this is obviously a cracking kit. It is very easily found for usually a very good price, certainly where I found it. This is boxing 82111. It is worth pointing out this serial number is very important for looking for the G6 versions from Eduard, because they do have different boxings, and there seem to be a few problems with the initial boxings, so these are the ones they brought out to improve all of the issues that were in those boxings. So the one to go for is 82111, and that is the Bf 109 G6 Late Series. A brilliant kit.